What is up, everyone, and welcome to a very personal and intimate, which just means me sitting at my desk, previews and predictions. And we are going to start with the newly renamed Mourinho Classico, Chelsea versus Manchester United. And not only will Jose Mourinho face off against his old club for the first time this season, so will Nemanja Matic, Romelu Lukaku, and Juan Mata. Also, Ander Herrera and Eden Hazard get to face each other for the first time since Herrera notoriously gave him one of the most famous man markings in recent years. You guys remember that? If I'm Ander Herrera, he's like, hey, Eden Hazard, how you comfortable in my back pocket? Is it as good for you as it is for me? Yeah? Also, ×2, it feels like there's a lot more than 3 points at stake with all the animosity and drama brewing from last season. So guess what's going to happen? Yeah, it's probably going to be something close to a 0-0 game because United have only won once at Stamford Bridge in the league since 2002, with that sole win coming against 9 men. However, because Chelsea are in the midst of a pretty uneven season so far, you'd think that this would be the perfect time for United to go on the attack. But if they didn't go on the attack against Liverpool a few weeks ago, then we're probably not going to see them do it at the Bridge. So I expect a very defensive game from United, with Chelsea seeing a lot of the ball, and then United relying on counterattacks and set pieces. Also, with regard to Chelsea, it's easy to point out where the problem is, or at least it's easy for me, and that's at the back. Antonio Conte has been mixing up his back line a lot this season. He's tried 9 different combinations at the back, while only once keeping the same back 3 from one match to the other. Which, as a contrast, last season, Chelsea benefited from fielding a usually predictable starting 11, but with the extra competitions this time around, which didn't plague them last year, it means more changes, which means a disruption to their rhythm. So with yet more lineup changes for Chelsea as they look to rebound from their 3-0 beatdown by Roma, and with the return of Paul Pogba in the lineup for United, it seems like United should and could walk away with 3 points, but I think the Blues are going to be up for this one, and they're going to come from behind to tie it late 1-1, so it'll feel like a win, even though it's a draw. And next up, it's Borussia Dortmund versus Bayern Munich, and how do I say this? Because there's really no easy way around it, and I definitely don't want to sugarcoat it, so just say it. Dortmund have been scheisse recently. Scheisse. They started the season with 6 wins out of 7 games, scoring for fun and having a very solid back line, and they were 5 points ahead of Bayern, so everything seemed to be going great. And then they just hit a brick wall. They'd won just once in their last 6 games in all competitions, which includes 2 draws against Applewell. Yeah, Applewell. So now they need a miracle to make it to the round of 16. As for Bayern, they are the complete opposite. They've won all 6 games under old but new manager Jupp Heynckes, and Robert Lewandowski is fit again to make the trip to his old home. So if there was ever a time for Dortmund manager Peter Bosz to turn things around and restore the form that they had at the start of the season, it would be right now. But that seems like a tough task, even at the Westfalenstadion, even though I don't feel like it's said that's called that anymore, because they just drew there with Applewell. So I think Bayern will win this one comfortably, even though the scoreline will appear closer than it is, which means you know what I'm predicting, 2-1. And up next, it's Barcelona versus Sevilla. And actually, after Barca's surprising midweek draw with Olympiacos in the Champions League, I'm thinking that all that Sevilla needs to do at this point is watch the video of what Olympiacos did defensively, because for the first time since December 2012, Barcelona failed to score in the Champions League group game, so obviously the Greek club did something right. However, Barcelona are currently having one of their best ever starts with 28 points from a possible 30 and an 8-point lead over their rivals Real Madrid, which, let's be honest, is a bit of a surprise since Neymar left and Luis Suarez hasn't scored much and Ousmane Dembele is hurt. But the Mercurial Leo Messi seems very focused this season to win a trophy, as a team and probably individually. Also, Sevilla have failed to win in their last 14 visits to the Camp Nou, or Camp Nou. So it doesn't look good for them from a historical perspective or a current perspective, since they've only scored 2 goals in their 5 away league games this season. So maybe Sevilla fans should consider doing something else this weekend, like seeing a movie with friends. I heard the new Thor movie's all right, or reading a book, because reading is fun. Because I just think that Barcelona's going to win this one 3-0. And now we're going to head back to England for Manchester City versus Arsenal, because on paper, Manchester City are better. They have the better manager, they have the better players, and they have the better system that suits their players. taking notes, Arsene Wenger. However, games are not played on paper, so one advantage, maybe the only advantage that Arsenal has heading into this game is fresh legs. Yeah, I said it, fresh legs! Because City made a trip to Italy this week and used every bit of their ability and smarts and energy to outscore the highest scoring team in Europe, while Arsenal, on the other hand, fielded a team of youngsters in the Europa League and will undoubtedly make 11 changes to their starting squad for Sunday. And as Chelsea proved last season, not participating in European competitions keeps the energy high. And the focused in the biggest of games. And since Arsenal's top players got a break from the midweek grind, I think they'll be well rested, and I think they could shock some people in this one. But I don't have the courage to go against the buzzsaw that is the Manchester City attack, so I'm going to say 2-2. And finally, here's some other games I'll be keeping my eyes on this weekend. Like Inter Milan versus Torino, because I want to see if Torino's star man and my number 9 in career mode, Andrea Belotti, is going to return from injury after being out for a month, and what that does to his spirits and the spirits of his teammates, who have not been very good recently, especially against a team in Inter Milan who look like legitimate contenders to hang around near the top for the rest of the season. Yes, I love their manager, love what he's doing, love the whole vibe. They've been really impressive this season, and I think they're probably going to remain undefeated after this weekend. And then I'll be spying on Corinthians versus Palmeiras, because it could be, and yes, I'm being dramatic here, one of the most important fixtures in the Brasileiro in recent years, because Corinthians have seen their once insurmountable 12-point lead at the top of the table shrink down to just 4 points over Palmeiras. So if Corinthians lose this at home to the second place team, known as Palmeiras, then their lead will only be 1 point with 6 games to go. And I don't know if they'll be able to hold on, because I just feel like they're already mentally crumbling. And if it gets shrunk even more by the team that's right behind them, they're just going to... Also, I'll be keeping my eye on Sporting Clube de Portugal and Braga, because it's the undefeated and in second place Sporting, who are coming off a pretty impressive 1-1 draw with Juventus midweek, taking on Braga, who are the hottest team in Portugal with their 5 straight wins that have seen them climb to 4th in the table behind the big 3 that we all know and love. So this should be a very good game to watch. And then in France, I'm definitely going to make time for Caen Marseille, mainly because Caen, or as I like to call them, the Conradinhos, have scored 8 goals and have given up 8 goals in their 11 games, winning 6 and losing 5. So they're almost perfectly balanced between good and evil, but yet they have no draws. And I feel like that's kind of weird. And then in Mexico, Atlas, who are currently in 8th, are on 21 points, and they're fighting off Cruz Azul, who are also on 21 points, Pachuca, who are on 18 points, and my Tijuana Cholosolos, who are also on 18 points for that last playoff spot, with 2 games to go before the season ends. So these are huge games for all 4 clubs. Unfortunately, they're just not playing each other. This weekend at least. And finally, and saving the best for last, let's talk some MLS playoffs. The Seattle Sounders look sound in their 2-0 aggregate win last night over the Vancouver Whitecaps, which keeps them in the hunt to repeat as champions, even though I didn't predict them to do so. So now let's turn our focus to the other clubs who could be joining them in the semifinals, like Toronto FC, who got a big road win over the New York Red Bulls 2-1, so they head back to Canada with 2 all-important road goals. The Columbus Crew, who head to Yankee Stadium with a big 4-1 lead over NYCFC, so we'll see if the magical David Villa can help NYCFC pull off the miracle. And the Portland Timbers head home fresh off a 0-0 result in Leg 1 against the Houston Dynamo. And given the Timbers' record at home, I expect they're going to do the business. And so I'm going to predict Portland versus Seattle in one semifinal and Columbus versus Toronto in the other. And those are both tasty matchups. And I really want that to happen because I didn't predict the Houston Dynamo to make the playoffs in my MLS preview, and they figured out a way to continue to have success, and it's making me look like a real jerk. So I kind of hope they lose so I look smart again. Anyway, that is it. That is all I got. So enjoy these big games this weekend. And also, crap! Please predict the correct scoreline for Manchester City versus Arsenal. And if you do, before the game kicks off, you'll be entered to win a Warm Baller starter kit along with everyone else that got it correct too. Put all your names in a hat and pick a winner. Also, continued success to everyone still going hard in the Warm Ballers Fantasy Premier League. I love your dedication and your focus. You guys are the best. And so are the rest of you. All right, I'm out. Later.